Hi, I'm Annie Campbell, and today I'm going to show you how to model a very simple 3D cell in Maya for your medical animation. Following this tutorial, there are two others that will show you how to build a 3D scene using the cell model. But first, let's start off by creating the cell. Take a cube primitive from the Polygon Primitives menu and place it on your screen by holding Shift and drag. We're going to turn that into a sphere by smoothing the mesh and increasing the poly count by using the smooth function in the mesh drop-down menu. If you're using this for the first time, open up the parameters box and reset the settings so there's just one in the division levels. Hit apply, or if you're like me, be sure to select your model first, and then hit apply. Hit apply again to smooth it. And now we have a sphere. Now I prefer this than the sphere primitive because you tend to get texture pinching at the poles with the sphere primitive. Okay, now let's take a quick render to see how it looks. The edges aren't really smooth, and there's a quick fix to that without having to increase poly count. Let's close this out and select the sphere. Go to the attribute editor and select Smooth Mesh Preview. If you take another quick render, you'll see that the edges are now smooth. Great stuff. Now I'm going to open up my outliner and rename this sphere as Cell Wall. And I'm going to follow the same process for creating the cell nucleus. Once you've got that done, let's center both shapes so that the nucleus is inside of the cell, and you can toggle on X-ray mode to check their positioning. So let's add some textures to these spheres to make them look more like a cell. So I really like Maya Material X because it gives you great see-through glass-like textures. Let's apply the textures to the cell wall and take a quick render. I'm going to use Maya's inbuilt lighting system, Physical Sun and Sky, to quickly set up some lights, but you can spend time setting up your own lights if you want to. Okay, great, now let's go in and adjust the settings to make the cell membrane look see-through. I'm going to speed through the rest of this video so you can see my process if I build a texture. You can do the same, and by doing that you'll learn how to create your own style and figure out what works best for you and your machine. But if you really just want to plug in some numbers, here's my settings for this model. You'll notice I do a lot of test renders to see how each change affects a material. One important thing to know is that I use a bump map rather than a displacement map because the cell is just going to be in a background. So I don't want to hike up render times with displacement maps that probably won't be noticeable by the viewer. For the nucleus texture, I use a ramp shader to give it that soft white edge, and here are the settings for that. After I'm happy with the textures, I'm going to parent the nucleus with the cell wall by middle mouse dragging it over in the outliner. Now all I need to do to move and animate both shapes is to just select the cell wall. I'm going to delete the history of both shapes to prepare for the scene setup in the next tutorial. And that's really about it. This is the render you'll get with the parameters from this tutorial. In my next tutorials, I'll show you how to create a simple cell scene with no camera movements. Alternatively, you can follow the other tutorial where we'll be creating a more complex cell scene with camera movements. Please subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this. Feel free to comment. Feedback on how to improve these are always welcomed. And thanks for watching.